Memory, I just think of Chris Marker and Ligeti. For me, it's the most profound statement on memory. I started off working in South African prisons, and that was in 2004. And I followed that up with a series called Umjigwana, which focused on ex-prisoners, which was this kind of counterpoint to the inside, showing the outside, and the way the two kind of dovetail together and form a system that's not discrete from each other. And then I kind of had the idea of wanting to follow up with that investigation in a small town. And so I chose Beaufort West because of this remarkable situation with the prison being in the roundabout. And I never knew that. I'd passed by Beaufort West quite a few times in my car, you know, on the way to a holiday or something. You drive around the circle and you don't realize it's a prison. It looks like an old colonial home, until one day I saw men in orange uniforms outside the prison. Well, outside the building, because it was in the prison grounds. And that image of this prison, which is normally kind of cast out to the edges of society, right in the center of a small town, is what drew me to Beaufort West. And then I spent time there and just kept on going back until I kind of felt like I understood the town a little bit. I think prisons are kind of very much in and out of our collective memory. I mean, it's a country where most of our political leaders still now spend time in prison during apartheid. Nelson Mandela, of course, being the most famous example. And also where, you know, whole sections of the society have been unjustly criminalized. So a very different relationship, I think, to prison and the experience of prison gets set up, and even for those who haven't been inside prisons, you know, they really are in our collective memory. There's a famous image by Bob Kusani that was taken in the old fort prison in Johannesburg of black men being forced to perform a dance as a way of security checking them as they come into prison, and the, you know, the various images that we saw of Nelson Mandela in and coming out of prison. So I think that that broad range of images around prisons is really important in South Africa. At the same time, my experience of contemporary prisons when I made that work starting in 2004 was that, like everywhere in the world since the 18th century, prisons have been designed to kind of hide people away from society, and so there's this, I guess, a contradiction there. And what I was interested in was how, when I started that work also, especially in the years 2004, 2005, 2006, when I started Beaufort West, you know, there was such an outcry in South Africa around crime, and a lot of the outcry was based on kind of real things, because it is a violent society and there's a lot of crime. At the same time, the extent of the outcry exaggerated that, and so there was this very kind of reactionary feeling of wanting just to send people to prison, people calling for a return of capital punishment so soon after it was abolished at the end of apartheid. And there was very little knowledge actually in those reactionary views of actually what prisons looked like, or what they were like, or what it was like for a young man to go to prison. And because it's so overcrowded, you know, he gets put in a cell with 60 people, which is designed for 18 people, spends 2 years on remand perhaps, and then waiting for his trial, and then gets set free. So it became politically an imperative for me to kind of, I guess, the classic thing of making visible what the systems of society tries to obscure. Yeah, I have a lot of memories of Beaufort West, also because I had a person that I met when I started the project. I needed somebody to take me around town and introduce me to people, you know, help me with the whole project. And I met a gentleman by the name of Major. Well, his real name is Sirame Metsing. We all call him Major, and he was really an integral part of the project. And you know, while I was in Beaufort West, I'd spend kind of every day, every minute of every working day hanging out with him, just driving around town, going to visit people he knew. He was a very popular guy in the town, so he introduced me to a lot of people. And Major since became one of my best friends. Well, it's not so much about trust, it's just about meeting people and having company, because I don't really like working alone, I get lonely. Beaufort West was made over 3 years, so it was quite a long time.